All right. So we will wait some more minutes to see if Marc joined. Marc from Instroniks. Do you know Instroniks?
To be honest, I heard of this, but it doesn't really come to my.
Maybe he will play the guitar.
I think you showed me that actually, right? So I know what you're talking about. Yes, for sure. Yes. It's a also Barcelona-based maker, right?
Well, like 60 kilometers or something like that, or 100 kilometers.
It's good enough.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's like donating blood. I don't know how to say that. So he's gonna connect in 5-10 minutes. So it's okay if we start with you?
Yeah, sure. I mean, to be honest with you, I have not really prepared anything, no presentation or nothing. I've never done a presentation about my podcast, right? So I mean, but no, I'm happy to talk about it and discuss some of the things and maybe just have a chat about it, basically, right? While I'm sharing my screen, maybe or so.
So the idea is you share the screen and we chat about that and let's create a dialogue if other people want to join.
I hear babies.
Yes.
That's okay. It could happen here too, actually, any moment. So.
Yeah, I will have children at any. I can have 2 children screaming that they want more cartoons at any moment.
Yeah.
So let's wait 5 more minutes before we start. Let me check.
How's the lockdown situation in Spain now? Because in Germany it just started again, right? And even extended now until Christmas and.
Yeah, in theory, we got into KPIs where they are allowing people to do more things now.
Mm.
So yeah, opening restaurants again. The curfew is still on, and it will be on. But yeah, in theory, if everything goes well, in a couple of weeks, people will be able on weekends to move to other cities or other places.
Yeah.
The idea is that we should have like normal Christmas, but yeah, no, not sure.
Yeah, so for us, actually, we don't even plan to more or less visit parents or something like that over Christmas. We typically never did, actually. We always celebrated a bit before, but I wanted to go skiing, and that's going to be a tough decision for me, actually, because I just love skiing, right? And I'm not going to any parties or anything like that, so I think it's fairly safe what we're doing. It's not like we're, but it's close to Ischgl, basically.
Yeah, the ski resorts are open or are closed?
So in Austria, I think they will, I mean, yeah, at least for Austria, I think they plan to reopen on the 6th of December. That's their plan, right? They had a relatively hard lockdown, and I guess the whole purpose was to kind of prepare for the touristic time over Christmas. So I know. So I don't want to be super stupid, but I also kind of more or less sit around at home over the last couple of months, and I feel like I deserve a little bit of fun. So I'm not kind of drinking beer and skiing nude with lots of alcohol in my blood, but kind of just doing some sports. Sounds like right to me. But
yeah.
So we'll see. My kids want to go too, right? And
we'll see. In Germany, they don't open the. Oh no, it's Switzerland. No, there are no.
Yeah, I mean Germany doesn't have snow right now. Let's put it that way. But that might come a bit later.
It's more Austria, right?
It's more Austria that we're typically going to. Yeah.
Okay. And how's your beer?
Beer is good. In fact, I wanted to, at the end, also maybe quickly advertise a live stream I'm doing on Saturday morning. So I have never done this before, but the plan is to start live streaming at 9 o'clock in the morning and just, I have like a camera, actually the camera I'm using here right now. I'm going to put it at the very top of my winter garden, basically. So you'll be able to see the whole brewing madness. For a long time, it will be very boring because you will not be seeing much, basically, right? But sometimes you see me stirring the wort and then basically doing the different phases, and maybe I might share my screen with a presentation that I've done at SAP before about brewing. Actually, I'm just gonna try it out. Actually, I get a bit bored these days, so I'm doing all kind of things. Yeah.
That's super cool. And it's interesting as well to understand the economics of crafting beer at home. I don't know if it's
Do you mean economics in terms of? Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's.
If you do it once, probably it's not. It's not a.
Yeah. So my story here is that, I mean, I really chose kind of brewing beer because I got super fed up with the whole pandemic situation, and then I thought, okay, what can you do? What's interesting on the table in terms of do it yourself? And I've tried all the electronic stuff, right? I've done lots of the KidsLab, STEAM education stuff now, and I do laser cutting and 3D printing, blah blah. And I thought, okay, actually creating something that you can actually get drunk off more or less and drink is an interesting option. So, and then I really purchased a relatively expensive brewing system. It's like 1,600 euros or so. Okay. But my plan is also to brew until the end of my life. So,
and tastes good, or? Yeah,
it tastes good. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's very interesting, right? To take down, to look at the recipe. Right now, I'm just doing recipes that I found somewhere.
Okay.
And sometimes I discuss them with others, and I really hope to also get feedback actually via that live stream, because some people might tell me that, hey, this is too early, too late, this is wrong, what you're doing, right? And it's, I'm super fascinated. I mean, the quality of beer is definitely better than what you would normally buy, and you have a different connection to the beer somehow, right? You really think a lot about it, and then you can do all kind of crazy things with the labels and beer coasters, right? I mean,
yeah.
So I have a lot of fun extending that into crafting, right, and presents and.
Exactly. Yeah. Because then you need a machine to fill the bottles, or how do you do that?
No, you just fill it into the bottles, and then you typically have these Bügelflaschen, those called flip top bottles, I believe. Yeah. So you can flip them over and close them. But I also have a little machine to kind of put these, it's called corks, these pieces of metal on, basically, right? But the problem with that is that you can't ventilate the bottles. So if the fermentation goes on, at some point, you should probably ventilate a little bit, because you have too much carbonization in the bottles, and that might explode the bottles. So I have actually one little manometer, it's called, actually a pressure sensor more or less on a bottle, and it has now 3 bar already. So 8 to 11 is like the maximum of these bottles typically. So but
nice.
It's very powerful though, right? So if you open one of these bottles, it's like
champagne bottle.
Yeah, so I might have used a bit too much. You can either put a little bit of sugar in the bottle, so the carbonization goes on, or the fermentation, or you're kind of using the original wort, so that the original soup of sugar basically that you created before it was fermenting, you can take a little bit of sides basically and put that back in. That's what I'm trying to do. And then you also have the German purity law, actually, right? Because you're just using malt, water, and yeast. That's it.
Okay, for people who join, we still haven't started the IoT meetup per se. We are chatting, and one of the latest hobbies of Sven is to make his own beer at home.
Yeah.
I don't know. There is Rafael. I don't know if you want to introduce yourself on the chat. Feel free. And I don't know. You raise your hand. You want to say something about the crafting beer, or not, or you just click raise your hand for randomly.
If you want to drink some beer, it's also fine.
Exactly. If you want to get beer from Sven, we will start in a minute. We can start already. So welcome to the IoT Meetup Barcelona. So this is, I think, the third one that it's virtual. I think that's really interesting, because we can have guest speakers that don't need to fly to Barcelona or come by train or by car or whatever. So it's good to have old friends like Sven or Marc or Natalia and Domingo on the show today to talk about education. That it's a topic that, hey Natalia, how are you? That it's a topic that actually I have children. I have 2 daughters, 4 and 6 year old, and I'm getting into this education and And because I love IoT, so I'm trying to mix my new passion and with IoT. And yeah, and I wanted to do this episode as well because Sven had this podcast, but I also know Natalia since a long time ago, and she's working on robots. Marc, he will join in a bit. He's also working on a really awesome stuff. So, and actually I have something to show since yesterday that I will live demo as well. So this is what we wanted to start. So maybe, yeah, I have a visitor. I can have I can have visitors at any point.
It's good you have visitors actually, right? So I was actually waiting a long time for my KidsLab podcast to have a baby crying in the background. And finally, I think in episode 55 or so, I had
55. Wow,
yeah.
You needed 55 episodes.
Yeah, I know. People have been locking their kids away. I don't know what happens.
Exactly. Sometimes Disney Channel works, sometimes not. Yeah, you never know. As I said before, if you want to introduce yourself on the chat of Jitsi, it's on, if I'm not wrong, on the bottom left of your screen. Feel free to say what's your name, where are you from, your interest, and feel free to, if you want to ask questions, feel free to ask questions on the chat. And yeah, let's start with you, Sven.
Absolutely, and yes, I just see in the chat actually. This is pretty nice. I prepared a little Sublime text editor here, so I of course have the link of the KidsLab podcast. Yeah, so this is the link kidslab.dev. It's also pretty easy. I'll just share my screen now.
Maybe we give a little bit more context, Sven, if that's okay for you. So
sure.
Actually, I lived in Munich a long time ago, where I created the IoT community there as well. And in some meetups, Sven appeared there, I think, no? And we talk a lot there, and we had a lot of things in common. And one of the things I created with Thomas Amberg, who already spoke here like some episodes ago, in June, I guess it was a June meetup. We create this Oktoberfest of things, where we try to mix the Oktoberfest from Munich with the Internet of Things, but it was an hilarious kind of.
Maybe you should talk about that first, actually, right? So let me just. I'm sharing the screen, and Marc, you can also guide me actually. So I'm just using this wonderful, not my Google account, but this search engine here. And let me just look for Oktoberfest of things.
I don't know if it already exists. There was a Tumblr website.
SAP Hybris. Let's put it. Let's see if we can find it. Actually, there's Oktoberfest of Things archives. Here we go.
Wow, what do you have here?
Done.
So actually, that was the third edition. So the first edition. So we started with Thomas, but we discovered that we went to the Oktoberfest with a lot of Arduino stuff, and we drank too much beer, and I think Thomas lost some of the hardware, Arduino kits, and then we decided to bring more people into the table. And you joined, and it was amazing. I think that was the second edition, and then I think I came to the third edition because I left Munich at that time. But it was super amazing.
Yeah, so that was 2014, right? And we really, what have we been doing, right? We've been tracking how many times you lifted your mug, for example, right? The idea was also to kind of detect the air quality of the tents, I believe, or the level of how many people are in the tents, right? If there's still some space. And I believe many of these things are actually available now. So if you would go to a normal, to a recent Oktoberfest now, if you could go to Oktoberfest, then by now you can actually click the tents. You can see if there's some room available.
Oh, cool. It was very analytic by that time.
They kind of did that, yeah. So
yeah,
but we had, of course, crazy ideas, right? I mean, we also had these pressure sensors on the table where you would double click, and double click could, for example, mean, hey, I need a new beer. So it would send a message over whatever protocol to some web UI that would be the waiter's UI, right? And then you would kind of get a new beer, for example, right? That was the time of crazy ideas.
Actually, the most crazy idea I listened, it was the piano.
Yeah.
You remember that or not?
Oh, it's a Pinkel piano, you mean?
Yeah, there was what was the name of the guy who invented that?
Yeah, Andreas Kopp. That's
Andreas Kopp. Yeah,
I still know him. He's running also some education stuff now in Munich, by the way.
Oh, cool.
So he has a
really cool guy.
Yeah.
And he tried to build, so when you go to toilet in Oktoberfest, so he wanted to convert the toilet of the tents into a piano that was crowdsourced in a side. But the test could be a little bit tricky to test that.
I think he did test it. Yeah, he did test it. So there were like electrodes hanging down the toilet, which is just a big metal frame, more or less, at the Oktoberfest. You can think of this like it's a kind of horrible, actually. Really, it's like you get in there and you kind of move along until you get out again, basically. And while you move along, actually, as a man, you can. It's lovely that we're recording this. And you put all the electrodes there, and if you kind of shoot in a different direction, more or less, you hit a different electrode, and it makes a different sound. And it's like, it's absolutely one of the craziest ideas I've ever heard. Yes. Yeah. So.
But let's get into education. Yeah, let's stop. That should be another episode. Alcohol and IoT.
Exactly. Now we covered the alcohol stuff now, and beer and crazy ideas. So now let's maybe come to education. Yeah.
All right. So tell me, I discovered during the lockdown that you created this KidsLab podcast, and I started. Actually, I think I appeared in one, during the beginning of the. But tell me more. Why did you get into this KidsLab idea?
So it did not start with the pandemic, actually. So it started, I believe, last November or December. And I think at that time we've been also thinking about doing and continuing a podcast at SAP, but it's about super crazy tech topics now. So it's like super high level stuff, and the combination of AI with the blockchain and blah, blah, blah. And I wanted to do something that's a bit more frequent, that I have a bit more control over, and that I can really kind of just steer in whatever direction that I want to steer it. And then I remembered that Andreas Kopp actually told me quite a few times that I've got so many robots and stuff flying around at home. I should actually present that once. I didn't want to create a presentation because that's kind of over and then it's gone. So I thought, okay, maybe the time is right for doing a podcast. And I basically read a couple of documents about podcasting. I bought a couple of things. Initially, I wanted to do a live stream. I might start that from next year on, actually. So I might stop podcasting and just go live in the future. It's a bit less work, I believe.
Yeah.
And then I just sent an email to the first 3 people that I wanted to interview, created show docs, and started recording. And that was pretty fun. And then I sent more emails around, and without being able to think, basically, I had like filled half a year of weekly shows, more or less, right? And so that's how it all began, really. Though at the beginning, I've been really talking about things that I really know a lot and know very well, I would say, right? So we go back to the first. Let me just click here, maybe into the players. The first episode, well, after the trailer, was about squishy circuits, which is dough, essentially, right? It's dough you can make yourself, and you can make this dough in a conductive way and a non-conductive way. So you can create little tiny or little circuits for kids, and they have their first experiments with electronics and electricity, basically. And it is really super amazing because, so let me just maybe Google that quickly. Okay, it's squishy circuits.
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun for the kids, really. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can do it with them, so you can create the whole experience from zero, to hero.
Yeah.
With them.
Exactly, and you should see the eyes. At this point I already did some. I still did some lessons at the local school in Munich, and the kids and even the teachers were really fascinated. And by the way, I think this is almost. I just thought this is one of my pictures, but it's not actually. You can put LEDs inside, of course, right, into these elements, and then you can use motors, for example. I also use buzzers. And so it's a really fun experience, and very soon you get to the point where something doesn't work, and then you have to explain why this doesn't work, because the circuit is not closed or the conductivity is too low, blah, blah, blah. And it's really a lot of fun. So
Yeah,
and then there's the second episode was with the KamiBot, for example, which is a little robot from Asia, I think from Singapore, I believe.
And later we will have a robot presented by Natalia and Domingo. Yeah. So what's the percentage of robots versus other stuff on your podcast?
Yeah, I think robots are a bit overrepresented in my podcast, probably. I mean, but they're different robots, right? I mean, you can choose to buy a robot, which is sometimes maybe not the worst idea, because if you want to teach a lesson about electronics to a child and you have to work 40 hours to put the cables into the motors and code it in Arduino, then it's not the most fun experience as a child, maybe. But sometimes it's also the right thing to do, because it depends on the child, really, right? So
yeah, it depends on the motivation of the children. That's
exactly. Yeah.
I think we can create this discussion with Natalia and Domingo on the robot. And on the other hand, there will be Marc Sibila, who actually created Instroniks, who is the other way around. So they hate robots. So they wanted to educate children with electronics, but with something that it's not a robot, no? And actually that fits with, well, maybe Marc will explain this, but that fits with, I don't know if you know David Cuartielles from Arduino. So the Spanish guy who is on the Arduino team, he's based in Sweden, actually. He is actually thinks the same. So he hates, not hates, but he sees that all the education stuff made with Arduino, most of the educational stuff with Arduino are robots. So he was crazy looking for something that was not a robot and was with Arduino and Educative. So I'm looking forward to see Marc talking more about this. Yeah, sorry that I interrupt you, Sven.
But you know that there's so many robots, right? You can build. I mean, just when I look at the last podcast episode was about auto DIY, which is also a crazy robotic project, I would say, right? So they basically open sourced all the different elements of a robot, and then you have these little 2 feet robots in all kind of variations. You have like the Christmas variation, you have millions of variations, really, ones with wheels and whatever, right? Something you have to make yourself, right? It's well explained though. And then you have this Finch robot, for example,
Bambi
right?
Brewer. What's a Bambi Brewer?
Bambi Brewer is I think the CTO of this company.
Okay.
Of BirdBrain.
I thought it was the name of the robot. Okay. So.
no, it's Bambi is a person. I was talking to her. She's pretty alive.
Okay.
And yeah, she's the CTO, I believe, right? Or the director of engineering, it says. Yeah. So, and I think that actually maybe it's also quite interesting. You know, a lot of these projects, I mean, one of the super projects I believe that I've been talking about is probably the microbit or the Calliope Mini, for example. It's actually not the Raspberry Pi, because the Raspberry Pi is a bit too complicated for kids to start with. And something like a microbit where you just plug it in and then you have a little block-based experience on the browser, but you also have something in your hands and it blinks and it beeps, and it's not with the microbit 1.1 version, with the first version, but with the latest version, I believe it has a buzzer. I have to also get one, actually. Calliope Mini, for example, is another cool board that has a buzzer and all kind of different sensors. So this is the one here below. It's just way more motivating, I believe, for the kids to do something in the physical space. I mean, that's definitely one of the learnings that I probably even had before I knew that it's fun to do things with your hands, right? And to build something. But this is really also true for the kids. And
so what's your lesson learned doing this podcast during 50 or 60 something episodes? Well, I don't know how many.
Well, I mean, so that's a good question. I mean, it depends. So I would say I did not find the one perfect project for everyone. Maybe on a more, I don't know, philosophical or a more higher level, I would say what I figured out is that.
Sorry, I have a visitor.
It's okay. Just sit there on your lap.
Say hello, Carla.
Hi there.
Hello.
How are you?
No, she doesn't listen to you.
¿Qué tal?
All right. So.
So I wouldn't say that I found the single perfect project for every child or for most children or something like that. But something around the microbit or so is definitely a very good toy and tool to start with, I believe. And I would say for the beginning, I would take it a bit easier rather than harder. So I wouldn't start with something like auto DIY, for example, with a lot of 3D printing and cables and soldering, and maybe even go a low level. I would actually start with something that's way higher level, because your job is to motivate the kids and not to scare them away. And when I look at my own kids, actually, I believe they're a bit scared by all the craziness. And so I'm not the perfect example, actually, when it comes to motivating the kids for electronics. Yeah.
Yeah, but I remember that we talked a long time ago that you said, yeah, my kids are growing with 3D printers and cables and soldering.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, they know what it is, right? So that's a good thing. They know it. They kind of think it's normal to just, something is missing, then go design it and print it. They know that that's kind of that they believe that's normal, but it doesn't mean that they're experts in this, right? They either come to me or they don't come at all, right? So
exactly. All right, thank you. I don't know. Maybe let's give the word to. Let's start with maybe MochiRobot with Natalia and Domingo.
Sure.
And yeah, we extended. Yeah, we extended more than the usual. I don't know if people has questions. Feel free to put the questions on the chat. I see that Marc say that they don't hate robots; they hate the wheels of the robots. Hey, Marc.
You hate the wheels, so you want to have a robot with feet?
I hope that they will make guitars with wheels, and I don't know. So maybe let's start with the MochiRobot. What do you think?
Okay. One moment. I prepare I share the screen first of all.
So actually, let me give you like a little bit context. So I met Natalia at Wayra, actually, my previous startup, the Things.io. We were part of the Wayra accelerator at Telefonica, and Natalia was working there as a Wayra staff. So we met there, and then we met again at the latest Maker Faire at Barcelona, where she was showing we didn't meet actually, but I knew that you were presenting the MochiRobot there. That actually was, the title was, the robot to teach girls to code or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. You will see it now. You will understand everything. Okay, so first of all, I will share a presentation, and after that, Domingo, my partner, will share with you the technical details, and also will do a demo that he has prepared, okay? 1 second.
I see that Thomas is here. Hey, Thomas, how are you? Thomas from Zurich.
Ah, Thomas. Hey.
Vale.
Nice.
Okay, ready. Can you see it, right?
Yeah, we see your slide, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So nowadays, everyone knows that programming is very important. So every child should learn how to program. That's why we have subjects like coding and robotics. But there's a problem. Children expect very advanced robots, humanoid robots, and actually they find an amount of cables, wheels, and robots with a war tank aspect. Also, equipments are too expensive. Robotics without real programming is a waste of time. And the lack of usability turns into frustration. And what we want is to prevent that from happening. So this is MochiRobot, our programmable robot, the first robot that makes you able to program emotions. The design is certified by our student girls, which means that Mochi is tremendously cute, and finally, it's 100% programmable. Later, you will see some of the examples with Domingo. As you see, the materials is very easy to assemble, and also it's very easy to code through blocks, straightforward. We are the team Domingo Alcala, and me, Natalia Pujadas. Domingo is the electronic engineer focused on the technical aspects of the robots, and I'm more focused on the business development. We both are passionate about teaching education through technology. Thanks to MochiRobot, we have encouraged girls to learn more about robotics. And here you have one of our students. As you can see, she really got into programming. Thank you very much. And if you like it, you can find it in our website, mochi-robot.com. And now let's review the technical aspects with Domingo.
Very cool.
I stopped sharing, right? No,
Yeah.
wait.
Yeah.
Share your screen.
Hello, good afternoon. Let me share the screen also.
Yeah, we see
Okay,
it.
I am Domingo, a partner together with Natalia in this project. First of all, thank you for giving us the opportunity to show you our educational robot, or let's say educational platform, because a few people doesn't like them. Okay. Everything works. Yeah.
Yeah, the video is moving. Cool.
Okay, let's start off about technology. The robot have a few electronic boards. This is a picture of the main one, the main CPU one. All the electronics is custom design, built with SMT technology, professional quality, and good finishings. The main board have the microcontroller, the battery management, Wi-Fi communications, accelerometer, line sensors, RGB LEDs, distance and brightness sensor, and so on, a small buzzer.
What sensors does it bring? If I can interrupt you.
Yeah, we have an accelerometer, 3-axis accelerometer to capture the movements of the robot.
Mm-hmm.
We also have a distance and brightness sensor. We got line sensors to make the robot to follow a line. We got also Hall effect sensor to detect magnets.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and some other things to interact with the user, like push buttons and RGB LEDs. Is quite complete.
Cool.
Okay, the design was done with professional tools, professional modeling tools. The first idea was meant to be 3D printed, but after the first prototype, we decided to switch to injection molding. We wanted to achieve the maximum quality and mass production capabilities. Here you can see the left robot is prototype, the right one is the molding finishing. Okay, what about the software? We are using a Snap for Arduino, which is a special version of Snap. This version was created in KidsLab here in Barcelona. What we did is to create a custom library with blocks that allow the user to interact with the robot easily. No? What we had in mind was to create blocks to make very easy to deal with the hardware connections. The user don't have to think about pin numbers or that kind of low-level questions. They just have things like red push button or make the wheels go forward, make the wheels go backward. We try to encapsulate the low-level questions. Okay. One of the most significant features is that the robot is communicating constantly with the software. That means that every action you take is reacting immediately into the robot. You don't need to compile, you don't need to link or send or nothing. Everything you do automatically is going on in the robot. The example shows, for example, how to light on some LEDs. We can light them up with a whole range of colors. You can see how just by clicking the block, the action takes on. The environment is in several languages. Now we have selected English, but you can select Spanish or Catalan or many more.
And the code is directly to the MochiRobot because it's plugged via USB, or it's you use Bluetooth, or
we have two versions. The first one was Bluetooth, but we decided to switch to Wi-Fi.
Okay.
And actually we have both versions. You can see how easy it is to print a text into the screen. You have to take care about the scrolling or timing. This is the ACE shape change feature, when you can change the eyes shape to express emotions. You select, press, and everything goes on. Another demo. You can see how just by drag and drop the blocks, you can construct your program. But a very special feature that we will see here is one of the main problems when programming embedded systems is that sometimes it's very difficult to detect errors or to debug the solution. Then something very nice from Snap for Arduino is that you can run step by step, and you can watch in real time the value of variables. Then that makes very easy to debug your software. In this demo, for example, the program is waiting for the right button to be pressed. After that, it moves the robot to the right and keeps going on until detecting an object closer than 100 millimeters. No? For example, it's very simple. Once we reach the object, we show a message and the distance in millimeters. Another demo. Here, for example, we are demonstrating the use of plenty of the sensors like accelerometer, distance meter, or brightness meter. And something very cool is that you can attach physical values like the sensor readings to graphical objects, what the Snap call sprites. Every sprite have his own program, his own script. Then you can attach the values that you are reading from the physical world to the graphical objects. Then the graphical objects will react to the real world variables. That makes it very useful for video games or for graphical applications. Here you would see, for example, we got the accelerometer attached to the robot, the mouse is attached to the distance sensor, and the cloud or sun is attached to the brightness sensor. You see how we are measuring the distance, and automatically it is represented over the screen. We move the robot, then the accelerometer give us the angle, then we can represent it on the screen.
That's really cool. This interactive thing between the real world and the virtual
you see
world.
Many light, the sun goes on, otherwise cloudy, or darkness, more cloudy.
Nice.
As we mentioned before, you don't have to send, you have to do nothing special. Just by clicking, everything goes on. I think this is a very good feature, thinking about children. No? At the first stages of learning about computer science, you need to encapsulate the complicated things. You need to concentrate on structures, loops, if-then sentence, and all that kind of stuff. Then that's why our proposal is more simple, more easy to use, and why not more cute, no? Okay, this is the video I had prepared. Why not to make a live presentation is because it's very difficult to make everything goes on with the camera, with the Jitsi, also the software, also the robot, too many things for my small computer. Then we decide to make a video. If you got any question, I will be pleased to answer.
We have Natalia showing the robot, right? Or
okay, well,
I think.
This reminds me a lot of an episode that I just posted into a chat with Bernard Romagosa, right? So I guess he's involved here too, because you can instantaneously update the code, right? Which is a very cool feature.
Yeah, that's very cool, because the last release was in September. That believes that they are keep going on and keep updating the software. Yeah.
Yeah. And fun fact, Bernard is also now at SAP, by the way. I know. So he's working with Jens actually, right? And Jens is the creator of Snap, pretty much.
Yeah.
He's actually a lawyer, and he turned it into a programmer. So that's a bit interesting.
Oh,
so.
yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. And what's the situation? So you are making the first robots right now, right?
Now we are a few months ago we switched to prototypes to mass production. Then we were producing the boards with professional methods, also the injection molding, and now we are just finishing with this phase and ready to sell the first units.
Really cool.
If someone is interested, you can visit our website.
You are accepting orders, or how does it work?
Yeah, we accept orders already. Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
Cool.
Can you put it into the chat, maybe?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and what's the price? Can you tell us more about that?
The price is 150 plus taxes.
Okay. And you send all over the world, or just?
The idea is yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, we. Well, right now we are accepting from all over the world, but let's see the sending costs and everything. But yeah, that's it.
We have a question in the chat from Joy. Which kind of magnetic sensor is inside?
The Hall effect sensor. It's a Hall effect sensor. It's a small.
I can show everything.
Yeah, this is the prototype version. It's a small Hall effect sensor. Is the shape is just like a small transistor. This is used. Imagine that you have a panel where the robot is following the line. Then you want to create a hotspot when the robot arrives to this hotspot to turn left, right, or to do anything else. Then the magnet is a good option to create those hotspots into the line way, no?
So are you using this for line following instead of the typical IR sensors?
No, we got both. The line following is done by the light sensors, but the magnet intend to be a hotspot signaling, just to tell the robot, okay, stop here and take a decision and maybe turn left, right, or do whatever.
Okay.
Cool.
That's very interesting. And how are you making girls to code and to certify that MochiRobot it's the right tool? I'm very interested on that, as I have two girls.
Yeah, first of all, by creating something emotional. For example, to put eyes to the robot, to make it more expressive, to make it more close to a cat or a small puppy, then that was a challenge because, for example, the distance sensors, the usual ultrasonic distance sensor are too big. Then that makes that conditionate to match the design of your face, no? Then
Domingo, and I wanted to add something about the girls. Yes, I'm focused on I'm giving classes in several schools, and also during when we had the initial idea, we did different surveys with the initial designs we had, and the girls voted. And helped us a lot to define the robot that they like the most.
Wow, that's very cool. What's your experience, Sven, on education and girls in Germany, at least? How do you deal with that in Germany?
Yeah, so I think the most important thing is to have female role models, right? That's why, Natalia, you're the most important person, basically, when it comes to passing this on, right? It's I mean, that's the most important thing that I always realize is the girls need to see that women do these jobs basically, and they design something. And I think it's totally right what you said. Is like the start. I saw one of the slides says start with the customer experience, right? If your customers are girls,
yeah,
then you have to. It's not a cliche, right? I mean, it's not like you do everything pink and girly or whatever, right? No. But you think a bit more about the aspects that really relate to girls, basically, right? And they probably are a bit more emotional and they like to discuss these things, right? And you need to turn that into a product, which I believe is a great idea what you did, right? So you have emotions, for example, right?
Yeah.
And you might, for example, also not just have sound, for example, and lights, right? Different variations of lights and stuff like that, or being able to scroll the text somewhere. I think that's something that's important, and not just the aspect that you can maybe remotely control a device or something like that, the technical hard aspects, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Really cool. Let's jump into, if you have more questions, feel free to introduce them on the chat. But let's jump into next presentation with Marc. How are you, Marc? Where are you, by the way? Where are you based?
Now I'm in my.
This is your laboratory, or?
Yes, I'm in my room in the school.
Okay, cool.
Nice. I just figured out that we could actually turn this into big, right? When we click the small image on it. So
because I live next to my school, and sometimes it's easy for me to, if I need to work, come here.
Fantastic. So tell us more about Instroniks. So I gave an introduction that maybe it's not enough accurate, no? But tell us more how you get into to make instruments.
First of all, maybe I will need some help because my English is not so good during the day. Maybe at night is better, but during the day is not. And speaking with the computer, maybe it's also strange. And Instroniks is a project. It's a maker project, because I always say that I'm a maker, and Instroniks start with when I changed the industry for the education. I meet the young people that and I need to teach technology, but my life parallel, I'm a musician too, and the first time that I teach electricity, the people don't hear me. They don't like electricity because they didn't choose. They are at the school and they need to do all the subjects. And I try to investigate some, and I fusion the musician with electricity, and I start with circuit bending. It's so strange, and then some people say me, you know Arduino? Well, I never know nothing about Arduino. And in European Maker Fair with Marc Sibila.
Yeah, I think we met there, right, in Rome. That was the presentation of the Maker Fair in Rome. Yeah.
And then I start to know Arduino, and I'm not a programming teacher, and maybe I don't like so much the computers. And for me, it was very easy to introduce to Arduino. But when I start to teach robotics at the schools, I start with Lego robots, and was so expensive and so difficult to programming, because it's so easy to move, but if you would like to do another things,
I agree.
It's so difficult.
Marc. I agree with you.
And nowadays I don't understand the software. And in 4 hours, the students can do nothing because you do different things, but with no way. And when I start with Arduino, I start with more creative robotics or artistic robotics. And we try to do that, an introduction to the robotics. And our goal is that nobody hate technology when finished the secondary school. Because nowadays, a lot of people, when finish the secondary schools, hate technology. But everyone have mobile phones or inside his life, no? And our method to teach technology is with music. Mm-hmm. That's why I say that I hate wheels because I don't like the cars. and
you like guitars.
And I like guitars. And Instroniks starts to, I don't know how can I say that, but I start to make show the project in different fairs, update from different price. I don't know. And
you won some prizes, and,
yes.
And then you made a lot of shows and live concerts, right?
Yeah. And made 3 a week or 4 a week. We go to different schools now, and we teach with other teachers. And our goal is that everyone can programming robots, and we do it with a big sessions. We introduce that with maybe in 1 hour. I think that as Sven says that, no, it's very important to start and finish every hour, and the students have results of that. And we have that website. If you visit there's a 4 or 5 examples for coding music. And wait a moment. And then we show different examples. But our method starts sometimes with a makey board. I don't know if...
Yeah, I really like the makey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then we introduce Arduino. But nowadays there's a lot of softwares to programming Arduino, but we use the original. I don't know why. Maybe because it's the only that we know. I mean, if not all the times. And we do some big installations using makey boards and Arduino. Arduino we use for the sensors, and makey for connect to our computer and programming with Scratch, because Scratch is so easy to use, and you can do a lot of things. And our good project is that guitar that David Quartielles helped us to do it. And it sounds like an instrument. And some people, it's an Arduino board, and it's easy to code.
That's cool.
So you code I remember that some months ago, I was checking my old tweets actually, and some months ago you were asking people, "Hey, what song should I play?" And people were telling you like Despacito and and that's really cool. And that sounds like you program it the same way than the guitar.
Yes, it's all the same.
Oh, this looks professional.
Inside a 3D printer box.
But the other one was a milk, milk Tetra brick, right?
And we use all the technologies for teach, and we use STEAM education. And in our school we have 3D printers and one laser cut, and then we can join all of that with a very beautiful project.
Mm-hmm.
I like a lot introduce a Scratch, making a mapping. And then this mapping we project to the city hall of our town in Navas.
Oh, that's cool. And then the children make the mapping.
Yes. They make the mapping with a photo, and maybe only in 3 or 4 hours, no more, but only make a song inside and change the windows, color windows. It's so easy. Scratch one square, and when I press space, change the color. It's so easy, but the result it's spectacular. And with a little projector, well, no little, but one that we have here in the school, but with all dark the square, and then we project it. And it's an artistic performance, and they start to programming code.
That's really cool. That's really nice. Very cool, man. I really like your projects and how it goes. So if there is a teacher in the audience or someone who will watch this video in the future and they want to become an Instroniks, what they should do?
They can
contact
go
you on the
inside
website,
our website or Twitter or Instagram, and it's free to take the different instruction. It's free.
One thing I would find really interesting is actually how we enable all the teachers out there to teach something like that. That's because I see a lot of passionate people like us here basically in this meeting, of course, right? And we try to teach it, but we're just at the peak of the iceberg basically, right? And what we really need to do actually to change society or to change people to understand more about technologies is to kind of spread this basically, right? And there, I still have not found the perfect solution, to be honest with you, because a lot of the teachers are just, they're busy teaching, they're busy with Corona these days, they're busy with other things, right? They even have to buy a laptop to get on Jitsi or Teams or Zoom, right? At least that's a German problem here, right? So, so I'm wondering how can we make it as easy as possible to let these people try it out. So it's actually not just a kids problem, right? It's not actually, it might not be the kids who need to learn about these technologies first, but maybe first the teachers of these kids. And then, because we need to have some scale, right? So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's really important, how to create something that teachers can learn easily and can introduce it into the classroom.
So maybe it's even a good idea to address the adults first, actually, right? I mean, that's how the maker movement also started, right? It was.
And I think it's interesting for the teachers because you spend 1 hour preparing, but then maybe it's 10 hours in your classroom.
Yeah.
And I think this is the best way for all the teachers.
I think a
Yeah.
lot of teachers are probably scared, right? A lot of teachers are scared because it could well happen that there's one child in the classroom who actually knows more about these things, right? So,
Yeah, of course. I always say that in the next 3 months, one of you know more than me.
hmm?
If they want, they can. Yeah.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah, I think that's a really big problem, because these areas are so wide that it's really very likely to become more proficient in some topic than the teacher, for example, right? And that's something you have to feel comfortable with, that you are actually not the person who knows most about this in the classroom, right?
And
So,
Marc, can I show my last project?
Of course, yes, please.
You remember
Oh.
that?
Yes, bioplastics. Yeah.
oh,
So you made it with children, or?
Yeah, with
So on the latest Maker Fair, we were on a workshop with the Fab Lab Barcelona,